All right, hello everyone. So in the last class, which was class 1 on carbohydrates, we got started with the basics of carbohydrates. We got acquainted with terms like epimers, and we learned two very important methods. One of increasing the number of carbon atoms in a sugar, which was Killian-Fischer method, and another was decreasing the number of carbon atoms in a sugar, which was rough degradation. So if you have seen the first video, you will remember that Killian-Fischer, could convert a smaller sugar to a larger sugar. Triose will give you a pair of tetroses, then 2 tetroses will give you 4 pentoses, and finally 4 pentoses can give you 8 aldohexoses. And every product of Killian-Fischer will give you a pair of epimers, So we are going to begin with this family tree, which is called the family of capital D sugars. And then I did tell you that, in this class would take up that very fascinating story of how Fischer, managed to deduce the structure of glucose, which could be any of the 8 aldohexoses I have drawn here. Naturally, it's called the family of capital D sugar. It's called the family of capital D sugar because it all began with this form of glyceraldehyde, which had this OH to the right, keeping CHO vertically up, keeping CHO vertically up. You had this OH to the right, chiral carbon, this OH to the right, and that was capital D, having this OH to the right is capital D. Capital D has nothing to do with its dextrorotatory behavior. Capital D is absolute configuration, that this is D plus is only incidental. Now, because it's such a common confusion, I want to put an end to it right now. Although these are aldohexoses I am talking about, so many of them, would be levorotatory in nature. A very popular ketohexose fructose is also levorotatory in nature. So going back to the family of D sugars, you call it the family of capital D sugars. Because we begin with a capital D sugar, D plus glyceraldehyde. The chain grows vertically up. Even in rough degradation, it's shortened from above. So you know about Killian-Fischer, you know about rough degradation, the chain grows vertically up. So this OH is this OH, out here, and then the new chiral carbon had OH to the right and to the left. There are a pair of epimeric tetroses. This would give you a couple of pentoses where these two configurations are retained. This carbon has OH to the right and then to the left. Here, for this aldo tetrose, I'm going to name them. They're called erythrose, threose. Maybe I'll only use the first letters of the name because these names need not be mugged up. Erythrose, threose. Then this is ribose, arabinose, xylose, and lysose. So ribose and arabinose are again C2 epimers. They are C2 epimers. You want to number it from the functional group at carbon 2, OH to the right, to the left. Ribose, arabinose, xylose, lysose, they are C2 epimers. So ribose, arabinose comes from erythrose, and these two OH have the same configuration as erythrose. The new chiral carbon, which is, while growing up, this OH is to the right, then left. We always draw the one to the right first, then left. Remember, in xylose, lysose, they differ only at this carbon, they are epimers. And the lower OH, the two have their configuration same as threose. So, these two OH have been retained. I did tell you about this practice of drawing the OH to the right first. And then ribose would give you allose, altrose, where yet again these three configurations have been retained. One to the right, then to the left. This is glucose. Finally, I tell you, this is glucose. Where glucose will come from arabinose, and glucose 1, 2, 3 having the configuration of arabinose will have its C2 epimer, these three identical, differing on this carbon C2. Killian-Fischer product will always differ at the second carbon. Its immediate C2 epimer is called mannose. So allose, altrose, glucose, mannose, gulose, iodose, which are a pair of C2 epimers. They again come from gulose, iodose come from xylose. So these three configurations, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, retained. The new chiral carbon has OH to the right, then to the left. And galactose and talose are the aldohexoses which come from lysose. Where yet again, these three configurations 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 is retained. The new chiral carbon has OH to the right, then to the left. Maybe you will want to recall these 8 names for your peace of mind. Although the carbohydrates will be interested in are glucose, its immediate C2 epimer mannose. And then, later on we'll talk about some reactions of fructose as well. Glucose, mannose and fructose are the 3 carbohydrates monosaccharides will be more interested in. When you take up the entire family of aldohexoses, 8 aldohexoses, allose, altrose, glucose, mannose, gulose, iodose, galactose, talose, you realize that these are pair of C2 epimers coming from the same parent aldopentoses, like ribose, arabinose are C2 epimers coming from the same parent erythrose. 2 things, erythrose will always give you ribose, arabinose, and ribose, arabinose, if degraded, will go back to erythrose. Xylose, lysose, if subjected to rough degradation, will go back to threose. So a smaller sugar on Killian-Fischer will produce a pair of C2 epimers, and these 2 C2 epimers on rough degradation will always give you the same parent, smaller sugar. Obviously, they could be identified essentially, primarily by their specific rotation. They are all chiral. They are all going to rotate right to the left or to the right. I recall I tell you capital T is not dextrorotatory because so many of them are going to be levorotatory. I remember some like erythrose, ribose, arabinose. I know they are levorotatory. So when there are a few levorotatory members here, they are all capital D, but they are all not dextrorotatory. Now coming back to the structure of glucose and mannose, which are C2 epimers coming from the same aldopentose arabinose, Killian-Fischer always gives you a pair of C2 epimers. But it's not necessary that there are only C2 epimers here. The term epimer is a general term. If you look at glucose and galactose, see at carbon 2, 3, 5 they are identical, only at carbon 4. Glucose and galactose will differ. So glucose and galactose happen to be C4, carbon 4 epimers. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So immediate neighbors in this chart coming from the same parent sugar, they are C2 epimers, but glucose and galactose, they are C4 epimers. C4 epimers. See, galactose and glucose, they are differing only at carbon 4. So glucose and galactose are C4 epimers. You might figure out more epimers here, but Killian-Fischer will always give you a pair of C2 epimers. Now, there are a few things which you will want to know before understanding the story, how Fischer could finally conclude or deduce this to be the structure of glucose. If you want to recall allose, altrose, glucose, mannose, gulose, iodose, galactose, talose by a mnemonic, I can give you a mnemonic which I found in a popular book called Solomon's Trial. Although the mnemonic is equally difficult to recall. The mnemonic is: all altruists gladly make gum. All altruists gladly make gum in gallon tanks. So this is not made by me. I found it in a popular book called Solomon's Trial. All altruists gladly make gum in gallon tanks is how you can recall allose, altrose, glucose, mannose, gulose, iodose, galactose, talose. These 2 are C2 epimers coming from the same aldopentose. Now another fact you will want to know about. So now I think I can remove the names. You will want to recall glucose, mannose only. And instead of the names, I'll number these structures, because I did tell you all of them were not discovered when the structure of glucose was being worked upon. When Fischer was working upon the structure of glucose, all the carbohydrates were not known. So instead of the names, I'll call them structure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I might need some aldopentoses as well, so I'm going to call them 9, 10, 11 and 12. So I'm calling them by the numbers and not their names, because so many of them did not have names and even not discovered by them. So Fisher was predicting or guessing that one of these 8 structures is glucose, and naturally one way was to create all these compounds, synthesize all these compounds, match it with blood sugar in human blood, specific rotation. We'll get to know about glucose having a specific rotation of plus 52.7 degrees. And that entire story, how he could conclude to this structure, although all of them were not discovered, this chart was always there in the mind. This could be always conceived. We want to know one basic reaction of carbohydrates. We want to know one basic reaction of carbohydrates, which will come handy. And that reaction is, every time, see, this is how you can represent, this is how you can represent, this is how you can represent a carbohydrate. So if this is an aldose, if this is an aldose, N is the number of CHOH, N is the number of CHOH. Naturally, if it is 4, it is an aldohexose. If it is 3, it is an aldopentose. If it is 2, it is an aldotetrose. An aldose, when oxidized, can give you COOH, can give you COOH, CHOH whole N, COOH. And an aldose, when oxidized, nitric acid can do this, nitric acid can do this. This is an aldaric acid, this is an aldaric acid. So this reaction will come handy. Aldaric acid is the oxidized form of aldose, where both the ends are oxidized to COOH. Both the ends are oxidized to COOH. You will want to copy it somewhere, and I repeat, this reaction will come handy in that story of Fisher being able to conceive the structure of glucose. Aldose oxidized by nitric acid, which is a strong oxidizing agent. Both ends get oxidized to COOH. So a glucose will become a glucaric acid, mannose will become a mannaric acid. Obviously those names were not known, and every carbohydrate he was working upon, he was maybe converting it to its aldaric acid, and by a few series of experiments he was constantly zeroing upon the final structure possible for glucose. So I'll again want to rub this, and in the rest of the video, I am going to call these structures by their numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now the story begins like this. Fisher obviously had glucose, the blood sugar from human blood. You can get glucose, the formula C6H12O6, CHO, functional group, 5OH. But CHO5OH could be any of these 8 structures. All 8 have the formula C6H12O6. They all have CHO and 5OH groups. So what did he do first? First of all, he took glucose, and by oxidation he got the corresponding glucaric acid. So you convert or oxidize glucose to glucaric acid, and you find that glucaric acid is optically active. Now if the glucaric acid is optically active, if the aldaric acid of glucose is optically active, then naturally glucose cannot be 1. Because if both ends become COOH, you need to visualize a bit. If both ends become COOH, then there will be a plane of symmetry. Here. If both ends become COOH, there will be a plane of symmetry. It will become a meso compound. So it will be optically inactive. Similarly, it cannot be compound 7. This is compound 7. Galactose, it cannot be compound 7, because again, if these two become COOH, there will be a plane of symmetry. You will want to see a plane of symmetry here. The lower half is the mirror image of the upper half. So once he found that glucose ka aldaric acid is optically active, glucose cannot be 1 or 7. So structure 1 and 7 are ruled out. You will want to keep copying these rules. You will want to keep copying these steps And ruling out structures like 1 and 7, you'll want to keep noting it down in your notebook. Step 1, glucose becoming a glucaric acid, which was optically active, so 1 and 7 ruled out. Naturally, because of constraint of space, I'll be rubbing all these steps. I'll move to step 2. I'll move to step 2, where in step 2, he subjected glucose to rough degradation. He carried out rough degradation of glucose. So naturally, he would have got the corresponding aldopentose. He would have got the corresponding aldopentose. And when this aldopentose was treated with nitric acid, when aldopentose of glucose was subjected to nitric acid oxidation, this aldaric acid was also optically active. This is also optically active. And if this aldaric acid was optically active, this aldopentose could be to some extent reduced. Because if the aldaric acid of the aldopentose of glucose is optically active, then it cannot be 9. The aldopentose of glucose cannot be 9. Because again, these two becoming COOH, this carbon will lose its chirality, and when the carbon is not chiral, you can place a mirror right over it. This will be having a plane of symmetry. When the carbon is no longer chiral, दोनों COH बन जाएगा. This will be a meso compound. So the aldopentose 9 cannot be the aldopentose of glucose. And if 9 could not be aldopentose of glucose, obviously 1 was ruled out, 2 is also ruled out. Because this is going to give you these two aldohexoses. This is how it's happening. Naturally, 12 is giving you these two. These are steps of Killing-Fischer. So step 1, glucaric acid was optically inactive, 1 and 7 were ruled out. The aldopentose of glucose was giving you an aldaric acid optically active. So the corresponding pentose cannot be 9. So both 1 and 2 are ruled out as the possible aldohexose, which is glucose. Then another compound where the 2 becoming COOH will lose its chirality and will become a meso compound is 11. See, here again, if you make both of them COOH, this carbon will lose its chirality, and you can place a mirror here. This will be a meso compound having a plane of symmetry. So 11 cannot be the corresponding aldopentose of glucose, and if 11 is ruled out, then naturally 5 and 6 are also ruled out as possible structures of glucose. 5 and 6 are also ruled out as the possible structure of glucose. So now we are left with 3, 4 and 8. Now we are left with 3, 4 and 8. Now what he did was, from glucose, he got the corresponding aldopentose, and this aldopentose was again subjected to Killing-Fischer. And naturally, if you do Killing-Fischer here, you will get glucose and its epimer. Now glucose was giving an optically active aldaric acid. Its epimer was also giving an optically active aldaric acid. So both glucose and its epimer, maybe I'll want to give you a better view. So this is step 3, where glucose is subjected to rough degradation. The corresponding aldopentose was subjected to Killing-Fischer, and Killing-Fischer here would give you both glucose and its epimer, and both glucose and its epimer had optically active aldaric acid. Naturally two different aldaric acids, but both were giving optically active aldaric acids. So when the aldopentose of glucose was subjected to Killing-Fisser, both glucose and its epimer were obtained, and both glucose and its epimer were producing optically active aldaric acid. Now that will rule out 12 as the aldopentose, because 12 will give you 7 and 8, 12 will give you 7 and 8, 12 will give you 7 and 8, and if 12 gives you 7 and 8, if 12 gives you 7 and 8, one out of the two which is 7, one out of the two which is 7 will give you a meso, optically inactive aldaric acid. 12 on Killing-Fisser gives you 7 and 8. See, I am not naming any of them. I am only calling them by possible numbers, structures. So had this been the aldopentose of glucose, Killing-Fisser here would give you two structures, 7 and 8, where one would be optically active, even if both are COOH, and this will be optically inactive, this will be optically inactive. In case of glucose, the corresponding aldopentose on Killing-Fisser was giving glucose and its epimer, and both were giving optically active aldaric acid. Both were optically active. So naturally here one of the aldaric acids should have been optically inactive. So it cannot be 12, and if it cannot be 12, if aldopentose cannot be 12, naturally 7 and 8 are also ruled out as possible structures of glucose, and we are left only with 3 and 4. Either 3 or 4. Now we know 3 is the structure of glucose, but this is how Fisser reached till this point, that naturally glucose is either this structure or this structure. 3 or 4 are possible structures of glucose. And the last step was a master class. The last step was a master class by which he finally concluded that this is glucose. I am going to talk about that. But before I go there, very quickly, step 1, step 2 and then step 3. Step 1, glucose ka aldaric acid was optically active. So 1 and 7 were ruled out because they are the two COOH and you get a plane of symmetry. Glucose ka aldopentose was obtained, and aldopentose of glucose was giving you an optically active aldaric acid. So naturally 9, and with 9 ruled out as the aldopentose, 1 and 2 both could not be the structure of aldohexose, and then 11, because this will also give you an optically inactive meso compound, this could not be the aldopentose of glucose as well. And with 11, naturally 5 and 6 were ruled out. So 5, 6, 1, 2 were all ruled out till step 2. In step 3, glucose was degraded to aldopentose, rough degraded. Killing-Fisser will give you glucose as well as its epimer. Certainly, you know, when this is degraded to arabinose and then it's subjected to Killing-Fisser, both will come out. And both will come out and both will give you optically active aldaric acid, which is not the case with 7 and 8. Which is not the case with 7 and 8, and then 12 cannot be the corresponding aldopentose. So along with 7, now 8 is also ruled out. I think I have been able to convey this, all the 3 steps, how finally Fisser realized it's either structure 3 or structure 4, and then, you know, it takes me a little bit of pain to rub all of this very hard drawn structures on the board, but this is what we need to do. We need to focus upon 3 and 4 now. So, you know, let me very quickly rub all of this. And talk about these 2 structures only. So after step 1, 2 and 3, after step 1, 2 and 3, I do not know whether this story is going to come in any form in any entrance exam or question or not. But it's such a popular story. It's there in all the textbooks talking about carbohydrates in details. And certainly some portions of this in form of small questions can feature in different entrance exams. Till step 3, we concluded that either this, which was structure 3, or its C2 epimer. This is structure 3, or its C2 epimer. See, these are identical. Only at carbon 2, this OH to the left. Either 3 or 4, either this is glucose or that is glucose. Now the last step, I repeat, was a master class. Somehow Fisher could interchange the ends of this Fisher projection, both for 3 and 4. Both for 3 and 4, both for 3 and 4, Fisher could interchange the ends. So when you interchange the ends of 3, by interchanging I mean this is reduced to CS2OH and this is oxidized to CHO. This is reduced to CS2OH and this is oxidized to CHO. By interchanging ends I mean this is oxidized to CHO, this is reduced to CS2OH. See what you get. This becomes CH2OH. Then the rest of the structure written in this manner. This gets oxidized to CHO. And if this becomes CH2OH by reduction and this becomes CHO by oxidation, say 3 will give you 3 prime. 3 prime by converting the two ends, interchanging the two ends. And naturally 4 will give you this getting reduced to CS2OH. This will get oxidized to CHO. 4 will give you structure 4 prime. Now look at 4 and 4 prime. 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 I should be giving the arrow here because this is like interchanging ends. 3 to 3 prime, 4 to 4 prime. Look at 4 and 4 prime. When you learn Fisher projection for the first time, you are taught that you can rotate it on the plane of the board. That's allowed. With a lot of effort, you reduce this to CH2OH, you oxidize this to CHO. You reduce this to CH2OH, you oxidize this to CHO, which I am calling as interchanging the ends. With a lot of effort, you do that. And once you do that, and you are allowed this rotation, see, these two OH will come here, these two OH will come here, CHO will come down, and CH2OH will go up. CHO will come down, CH2OH will go up, these two coming here, these two going up. This is about rotating it on the plane of the board. So 4 and 4 prime are identical. 4 and 4 prime are identical. 4 and 4 prime are identical. They are identical. So with a structure like 4, interchanging the ends will give you the same compound with the same optical activity. Glucose was giving you a different compound. Obviously, Fisher was working with glucose only because that's the sugar you'll find in human blood. After doing step 1, 2 and 3, this was the final step where for glucose, he interchanged the two ends and he got a different compound with a different optical activity. Naturally, these two are different. If you rotate this, CHO coming down, CS2OH going up, this OH naturally will come to the left. So by interchanging the ends, 3 and 3 prime are two different compounds. 3 and 3 prime are two different compounds. 3 is not the same as 3 prime. This is not the same as 3 prime. And this is what was happening with glucose as well. With some effort, when Fisher interchanged the ends of blood sugar glucose, he got a different compound with a different optical activity. That would not have happened had glucose been 4, because you could simply rotate it on the plane of the board and got the same compound. Or if you do it chemically, it would be of no use because you'll end up getting the same compound. So by interchanging the ends and finding glucose was giving you a different compound, the story gets over. He was very sure that this is the structure of glucose, this is not the structure of glucose. 3 was confirmed as the structure of blood sugar. 3 was confirmed as the structure of blood sugar. Naturally, there could be just one last doubt in everybody's mind, that when you talk about 4 chiral carbon, there are 16 isomers. So why do we begin and talk only about capital D sugar? Why don't we talk about the other 8, which will be capital L sugars? That could be a question in mind. Now trust me, this is where even Fisher left it to chance. He began with the possible set of 8 D sugars and fortunately, or out of so much of hard work and sheer intelligence, he could conclude that this is the structure of glucose, which we know is the right structure of glucose. This is the structure of D plus glucose. And before I end this video, something which I have been willing to do since long, giving you the structure of fructose. Basically, this is now confirmed glucose, this is confirmed mannose. These are the two structures we will be more interested in the rest of carbohydrates. Now formally, when we go into the properties of carbohydrates, these two are going to be of prime focus. We'll want to focus on these two structures. And the third structure would be of this very popular ketohexose, very popular ketohexose, which is fructose. Now this fructose is a ketohexose, have the same formula as glucose or mannose, C6H12O6, plus it will have the same configuration on carbon 3, 4 and 5 as glucose and mannose. Glucose, mannose, fructose are three compounds which will be maximum bothered about. We'll talk about their reactions in the rest of the videos on carbohydrates. This OH is to the right, so this is capital D. This OH is to the right, so this is capital D. But this is levurotatory. Now this D minus would right away clear any kind of doubt or confusion. This capital D, I keep on saying, has nothing to do with the dextrorotatory nature of so many compounds, where capital D and small d positive could be incidentally in the same compound. This is capital D, levurotatory. Capital D because this OH is to the right, and this has nothing to do with the optical behavior, capital D, but levurotatory. So this much for the time being in this video. In the next class, we'll take up the reactions of carbohydrates, and would also learn so many new amazing facts of stereochemistry. Suddenly, along with the Fischer projections, we'll get into another way of representing three-dimensional structures for rings, because it's the ring form in which glucose and such compounds would be existing by and large. We'll talk about what's called Haworth projection. After epimers, we'll explore another term which is anomer, and trust me, the rest of these, it's hardly the beginning. The real chemistry of carbohydrates is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of learning. So this much for the time being. See you in the next class. Thank you so much.